Hello, bass players. We're going to talk about Dragonhunter here. It's Dragonhunter by Richard Meyer. The first interesting thing to talk about, especially since we're playing bass, and we, are the foundation, the harmony of the whole piece here. This piece is what it's called Dorian Mode. If you want to find out more about that, you can read about Dorian Mode. If you went over to the piano and you played from D to D on the piano, just the white keys, that would be Dorian Mode. It's not a major scale and it's not a minor scale, all right? It's something a little different. That's why we call it a mode. We're not playing D to D white keys per se on the notes, but we're playing in kind of an E minor, but with a D major key signature, and no accidentals in here. All right, so what it ends up being is the same series of whole steps and half steps as if you went from D to D on the piano. All right, so that's why we call it Dorian Mode, and that's what gives it that Renaissance kind of sound, like it's from the 15th, 16th century. All right, so what does that mean for us in terms of playing the bass? Well, first of all, we're going to make sure we're playing all of these E's nicely in tune, all right, all of the C sharps, all right, getting those. As far as what is the bass primary function here, be really clear basses when you are playing this piece. I mean, the bass is always so important in a piece, but in this piece, it just really drives everything. And whatever you guys do in the bass section, that's what the rest of the orchestra is going to do. So when you have these retakes here, making sure you really set the bow. Set. All right, so always we start slowly, practice really setting, okay, feeling my bow hair sticking into the string. All right, and if you want to practice slowly, as always, make sure like that. Basses, it's entirely possible for you guys to make the same mistake that other string players make when they practice slow, and to not use enough bow. And because you have so much more string to move here, you have such thick strings, all right, you have to teach your right arm, just like the rest of us, even more so than everybody else, how to dig into this string and move. So if you practice slowly, lots of bow. See, I didn't get all the way over to the G that time. There, I made the G count, all right? And that's the way you have to practice it slow. Every note has to count. Our goal tempo is somewhere between 120, 130. I'm going to put it on 125 when we talk about staying in tempo here. I think the recording I gave you guys on Classroom from the Teaching Music Through Performance, if anybody is interested, it goes pretty fast. It goes about that speed, maybe even like 130, 132, something like that. I don't know, we'll just see how it goes as far as how fast you want to go. We're going to practice at 125 today. You can experiment with going a little bit faster, but make sure it's at least in this range for our concert. All right? So if I'm practicing here at the tempo. Notice that when I practice the set, I practice setting before the click. Set, set. I don't go set, set. All right, because then if I do that, then I am late, of course. While we have the metronome going, another place where the metronome is really important in our practice is during the pizzicato. Okay, all right. Make sure that you practice with the metronome going when you get down here to measure 36. Practice it without the metronome. A great little trick is to, we've played it enough in class, you guys know it, sing the melody, all right? Sing what the violin 1 is playing while you're playing your part. Bum, 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 da, 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 dum, da. that in your head, you will never rush ever again, all right? And if you always listen to the melody and follow that, all right, in a sense, let that be your metronome, all right? Make sure you're following that rhythm, then you will never rush on the pizzicato, okay? It's really hard not to rush during the pizz because it's easier than playing with the bow, right? All right. One thing I want to insert here, basses, about playing this piece, and that is the bow stroke, okay? It is détaché. It is not legato, and it is not staccato, all right? So, not too long, not too short. Somewhere right in the middle, nice separation with the bow. This is really, really important to getting the character of this piece right. If we go to legato, okay, it gets sort of mushy and gushy, all right? If we play it too short, then we don't really hear the bass part. Okay, we don't want that either. We want a nice full sound. So it feels like you're just going and stopping the bow, just a little bit of space, all right? That happy medium, okay, between legato and staccato. We just call it détaché or detached. We want the notes to be detached. All right, that's what gives the piece the most energy, is when we have that bow stroke. And I think it's probably the hardest part about playing this piece is making sure that we do that exact same kind of bow stroke on every single eighth note and quarter note throughout the piece. So then we're playing, we're being very clear with that. We have a DS coda going back to measure 4. All right, then in 26, we go down to the coda and end it. All right. So always playing very clear, making sure the bow is into the string, and making sure that we don't rush, because remember, basses, whatever you do, the rest of the orchestra does. All right, so here we go. Let's play through the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thanks. Great. See you soon.